This pandemic winter is the perfect time to get outside alone and watch nature at work. Wildlife is bustling, even on the snowiest and coldest days, but not all birds migrate and fly south for the winter. Sure, cold-blooded critters are harder to see, but you know what? They're still out there if you know where to look. Even if you prefer warmth of indoors, let a window in your home magically become a giant media screen for everything that happens to be outdoors. Let's bring in Jim Arrigoni at the Connecticut Audubon Society. Jim, first and foremost, thank you so much for being here this morning. Good morning to you in Middletown, Connecticut. And which animals, Jim, are the easiest to observe during the winter months?
Thanks for having me. Certainly a lot of the birds that would come to bird feeders, like you mentioned, right outside your window. The things like black-capped chickadees and blue jays and cardinals here in the northeastern United States. But because the foliage is off the trees, it's also easier to see many of the forest species. And in open areas around shorelines, especially open water, it's not difficult to see bald eagles and a number of hawk species and even owl species this time of the year.
Now, if we were trying to set the timer to observe these great animals, are there best times of day to observe wildlife? And in which regions around the country could it differ?
Yeah, the saying the early bird gets a worm is definitely true with regard to birds. But depending on the weather on a particular day, they will work around the elements. Birds will need to find food to get through the long winter nights, so they're actually quite active throughout the day, not just in the early morning hours. But the long nights also provide opportunities for owls to be hunting. Um, there's So it can be very weather-driven, weather-dependent, depending on the actual species that you're looking for.
We're enjoying these images and just spellbound by all of them. Has climate change altered the winter patterns of these amazing animals?
It does. I mean, climate in general is going to dictate what species are found in a different area. The weather on a given day or in a given year is definitely going to drive certain population level events. So when you have particularly unusual weather, just like us, predictability is something that they can plan around, just like a farmer might with their crops. So when you have like an unusually late frost or an unusually early frost in the fall, those can cause some significant impacts to populations, especially newly arrived migrant tropical warblers that are counting on a flush of caterpillar activity with a flush of new vegetation. The climate change mismatches, they're called, can actually cause some difficulties with their ability to provide for their young.
Hey, Jim, really fast. We're running out of time here. Some people let bird feeders go empty during the winter months, thinking there aren't any customers, any visitors. But that's not the case, is it?
It's a matter that's much debated. The bird feeding is largely thought to be supplemental, that these species are good at acquiring food elsewhere in the environment. And so it's something that's nice for them. But it's not something that you have to feel obligated that once you start, you can't ever stop.
Jim Arrigoni at the Connecticut Audubon Society. Jim, you are fascinating. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We're very, very grateful.